Chuck Olenek. I'm a reenactor. And for 36 years in the classroom, I tried to bring history to life by dressing the part and immersing my kids in the culture, having them listen to the music of the time period, look at art from the time period, handle artifacts. Teachers would call that realia or manipulatives. Well, I'm not in the classroom anymore, so I have repurposed myself and have decided I am on a very pretentious sounding Mission Odyssey. The goal of this Mission Odyssey is to visit every single mission in Alta California, every Asistencia, those are the spin-off missions, every estancia I can find records of, and those would be ranchos that were designed to support the missions and grow additional food, and the presidios, where the soldados de cuerda, or the leather jacket soldiers, guarded Spanish interests. And what I'm doing today is I am leaving Mission Santa Ynez in Solvang and driving to Mission La Purísima in Lompoc. And I hope you stick with me on my journey. Okay, changing plans. So what I'm doing this time is, instead of just shooting straight across from Mission Santa Ynez over to Mission La Purísima, I thought I would try the other route, and I would follow the Camino Real, which is the 101 to everybody, except that the Camino Real didn't just used to go up Gaviota Pass and, you know, just shoot north, because it always struck me as very weird that you go up this road that was named the Camino Real. It was like the main drag, and there's two missions, and they are off like a dozen miles in each direction off the Camino Real, and that never really made sense to me. So a little bit of research showed that the original Camino Real used to go along the coast. I want to see if I can find where that is. But if I fail, well, then I'll just go up the one, and that'll take me to right near where the original La Purísima is. So my plan was to follow the bells that were placed along El Camino Real that were starting around 1906, and this was an idea that the California Federation of Women's Clubs and the Native Daughters of the Golden West had come up with. And I'd follow the bells until I got to Gaviota, and then I'd figure I'd go along the coast. Well, that was going to lead along the Portola route, but it turned into a fail. I couldn't get there. So I figured, all right, go up the 101 until I got to the 1. As I went up the 101 to the 1 to the Pacific Coast Highway, I had to keep a few things in mind. The factors driving the preservation of this route were, first, the rise of the automobile. You have a small, influential group of wealthy Californians who wanted a well-maintained state highway. Thank the Auto Club. The second factor was a reinterpretation of Spanish colonial California, making it a romantic paradise, and you're feeding off of Helen Hunt Jackson's Ramona, published in 1884, and that whole Southern California, American Mediterranean vibe. And this was to also boost the invented sentimental stories about Franciscan fathers traveling along the road from mission to mission, which were supposedly spaced one day apart along the trail. For the record, I didn't see any of the El Camino Real bells on the side of the Pacific Coast Highway. I did, however, have a more direct route to the original mission site. And who were the people that were living here before the Spanish came in and took over and changed everything? They were the Chumash, a widespread group from Malibu in the south to San Luis Obispo in the north, and living on the Channel Islands and extending inland. They were a hunting-gathering society. They also were matrilineal as far as reckoning their heritage. And they spoke a variety of different languages, or there were different dialects of Chumashan. And the ones that were going to be at Mission La Purísima, they spoke, well, the dialect that they spoke ended up getting named after what the Spanish called the native Californians here, the Purísimeño. And this was the least documented of the dialects. On August 28th, the Portola expedition, which had been following the coast, marched inland from Point Pedernales and passed through this area. And this would be where the first site of Mission La Purísima was going to be erected. The next day they explored the area which would later become Vandenberg. Portola may have shown up in 1769, but it isn't going to get founded until 18 years later. On December 8th, 1787, almost a year exactly after Mission Santa Barbara was founded, that was the 10th mission, Mission La Purísima is going to get founded by Father Lassuin here. And it'll be founded at the Chumash village of Oxacupe. So this was Padre Lassuin's second mission, the fourth in Chumash territory, and it was under the jurisdiction of the Presidio at Santa Barbara. They're not really going to be doing serious construction, though, until workers arrived from Mission Santa Barbara at the end of rainy season, and that was in March of 1788. Also by that time, this mission had about 75 neophytes or converts. The quadrangle that the mission was built as was 300 feet to about 375 feet on a side. There was a 200-foot long church which stood 40 feet tall. Inside the quadrangle were Padres' apartments, the Monjario, that was where the unmarried women lived, workshops, storerooms, and in front of the mission itself was a lavanderia and a couple of water basins. There were lots of challenges in establishing this 11th mission. One of the challenges faced was translating Mass into the language that was spoken by the Chumash in the area, and the dialect was Purísimeño. And okay, now you've also got to clear the land, because guess what? The Spanish want to plant different crops. You know, they were not going to be dealing with this hunting and gathering stuff that the Chumash had dealt with. Now they're going to clear the land, they're going to plant crops, they're going to plant orchards, they're going to plant vineyards, and they are trying to convince the Chumash that this is a good way of life. Well, one of the things that ended up happening is removing the Chumash from the rancherias, as the Spanish called any native Californian village. So there was, for instance, 4 rancherias up in the Los Alamos Valley, and they were cleared out because the Chumash there were forced to live here. removed from their rancherias, the Chumash lived on the southeast side of the quadrangle in traditional brush homes, except for the unmarried women. By 1800, there were nearly 1,000 Chumash that were here at La Purísima. But that's not necessarily going to be viewed in the best light, because Padre Jora, who was assigned to Mission San Miguel, lodged allegations of the Padres here at La Purísima abusing the Chumash. And Governor Borsia had both the 6 soldados that were assigned here and the Padres answer 15 questions, and in the end it was decided that there was no abuse because the Chumash weren't leaving. Of course, what wasn't mentioned is the Chumash were told that if they tried to leave, they'd be punished. So the native Californian side got buried. Here's the Padres side. The Indians were permitted some time to leave the mission. Hours worked by the neophytes were not to exceed 5 hours per day. To keep them at the mission, pregnant, nursing, and aged women and children were required to do a small amount of work. The neophytes were punished if they left the mission furtively, or if they were involved in concubinage or theft. And severe crimes against the common good were given to the corporal of the guard. With little coin or money circulating in Alta California, additional income for the mission came from hiring out the neophytes to the neighboring ranchos. According to mission account books, neophytes were paid 1.5 reales a day and their board. The wages received from the labor went to the mission, not to the laborers. In turn, the laborers received goods from the mission store. People ask the question, well, if the native Californians didn't like what the Spanish were doing, why didn't they just go back into the hills and live their lives as they had? Well, the Chumash here are a really good example. They couldn't. There was no way for them to return to their previous way of life because the Spanish wanted vineyards and orchards, and they wanted wheat and other grains planted, and those would end up driving out a lot of the native plants. Also, the animals that they brought in, they ended up grazing on a lot of the native plants and wiped those out, so that there was no real way to return to hunting and gathering because the food sources changed. The food source is now pretty much gone. I have to come back because I talk too much. So I'm coming back to Mission La Purísima, and I hope you will join me on the journey.